Good morning, everybody. Another episode of the Keep Going podcast, athletes shining a light on mental health. Super excited. Football Sunday, Bears, Pats, lots of good things. Shout out the Broncos, too, after last night's game. And Bo Nix, we were just talking about in the presser. Just unfortunate, but that's football. But on a different note, Adam Lane of Oak Strength. Man, I'm excited to have you, man. A return performance. I've been on yours. Now you're coming on ours. Thanks for taking time out of your Sunday, man. What's up?
Yeah, Pat, thrilled to be here. I'm assuming that this episode will probably break the internet. So pretty, pretty excited to rock this.
Adam, something I took from you, man, is for our tens of listeners, I'm really excited to get them and you connected again, man. Why'd you want to come on a Sunday? Tell me about that.
Oh, no, I didn't. I wanted to be in bed sleeping, Pat. I don't know. There's no want here. There's just, you were begging over and over, Adam, please, Adam, please. And then
It sounds about right.
you
It
broke
sounds about
down in
right.
tears. And I'm like, well, I guess. Okay.
Wow.
Fine. I
I,
guess
I think
we'll
it
do
was
it.
a mutual connection. I think once you had Joe on for the second time, you finally had to have our appearance here. That's
Yes.
what I thought it was. At least.
Yes. I was tired of having Joe's ugly mug on the podcast. We needed better, younger, good-looking people on there, and so we achieved it, and it was good. So, no,
Well,
I am excited to be here, dude. I love what you're doing. You're so genuine with what you're doing, and such a quality, authentic message to, I'm going to say, young people. I think that's where this is going. But
thank
it's
you.
funny, just trying to catch up on episodes and stuff like that. I friggin' love it for old middle-aged guys too. So I think you guys are doing fantastic work.
No, I appreciate you, Adam. And like once again, man, you've been someone the last 3 years in the area helping our athletes at Athletes HQ. I don't know. I think your content is also fantastic. I think so. The in-person stuff and the virtual stuff is great. What drives you, man? I know we were joking about getting out of bed this morning, but you were probably ready to go 2 hours ago. What fires you up about this kind of stuff, man?
There's my favorite coach in the world after Pat O'Malley is a guy by the name of Don Meyer. Don coached at Lipscomb University for I don't remember how many 20 some odd years, and then moved over to Northern State and did guys basketball. And he won the Jimmy Valvano Award back in 2007, something like that. SB.
Yeah.
Has since passed away. Fantastic. If you haven't seen his ESPN 60 for 60, go check it out. It just absolutely fantastic. Just like small basketball coach, wanted to be, never wanted the D1 world or anything like that, even though he rubbed shoulders with, Krzyzewski and Pat Summitt and Bob Knight. And like, he knew all these people. He wanted to work with like these NAIA kids with, the, D3, D2 kids, kids that really, really, really wanted to be there. And he has this line that there's no greater, I found no greater gift in life than watching and helping athletes get better. And I think it's just that. I love watching kids get better. It never gets old. It's always fun. It's never easy. And I think that's, I don't know. I just it's harder for me at this point in my life being 46 and like trying to get better myself. But if I can help others get better, it's insanely rewarding.
Yeah, we mentioned this on the first time when I was on your podcast about how you put videos up of yourself in the gym. And they're not always things that you're comfortable doing. And I think that's so, I don't know, as a 31-year-old former college athlete, former college coach, I'm watching you do this stuff with your kids and with your athletes and promote all this stuff. It's because you love the gym. It's because you love what you do. But I think you're also showing people that's not always going to be easy. Would you feel the same way about that?
Yeah. Well, and I think in this day and age, we live in this world where we expect it to be easy. And I don't know. I've heard you talk a lot, Pat. I've never heard you say this is gonna be easy, guys. It's gonna be easy. We're gonna attack this. We're gonna get you better at your sport. You're gonna go off and play in college, and this will be a cakewalk. And so, it. With that being said, I don't know. I think I like doing hard things. I want my kids to be able to do hard things, like my actual, sons to do hard things. Obviously, the athletes in the gym to do hard. Like I just think it's part of the deal, and I think it's extremely rewarding. And I think if you don't do those things, I think you struggle with other things in life.
Yeah, I'm gonna ask you a weird question right off the riff here. I think for you, obviously oak is a big part of what you do. You're obviously wearing the shirt. Show the shirt off real quick. Let me see that. There it
I
is.
want to be on brand here today, Pat. I want to be
I absolutely love it. Give a sales pitch out to parents and kids. They're looking at Planet Fitness, Anytime Fitness, and Oak. What's your sales pitch over there at Oak, Adam?
yeah, I mean, all good options, all good options. I think our goal here is to make sure that the athletes are able to come in no matter where they are within their, I guess performance journey, where they be a, you know, beginner middle school athlete who can barely tie his shoes to, higher level, collegiate or pro. We want to make sure that we individualize programming and meet athletes where they are. And so, I mean, that's why we do the force plate assessments the way we do. I just can't go off of Adam's eyes and trust me, be like, oh, your athlete needs more of this or less of this, and da da da. And it's so funny. We have so much sports specialization in this world, good, bad, or ugly, that athletes start to form some overuse tendencies within their movement, and typically that's the stuff that ends up leading them to that specific overuse injury. That's why you see lots of ACLs and offensive linemen, and that's why you see whatever. I mean, obviously the shoulder elbow stuff in baseball is pretty obvious, but it can also depend on how they create, transfer, and apply force, and to be able to put metrics on that, within the using the force plate, timing gates, and stuff like that. We have a database. We're able to compare athletes in the way of their top end speed versus their acceleration versus their change of direction. We're able to really, I think, uncover, and really look under the hood, as opposed to just look at the car and be like, oh, that's a fast car. We'll just put bigger wheels on it. Be like, maybe that's not quite it. So, and then it's always a work in progress too. Cause like as athletes age and they get older and stuff like that, with our boys specifically, puberty hits and like everything changes. We have to pivot then. So our programs are constantly evolving, constantly pivoting based off the athlete and what they're doing. And I don't know. If I were to make a plug, my kids do the same program. Like we want to treat your kids like my kids, and no differently, and get them safely and enjoying sport and having fun at the end of the day.
We're rolling now. Jackie, go ahead.
Hey, doing, Adam?
I'm fantastic. Jackie, nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you as well. I was actually at my first ever comedy show last night. So when you started ripping the humor at Pat early in the episode, I was like, this is great. I just had a question. I know we talk a lot about like what's going on, like on the wrong, not the wrong side of sports, but like what kids are struggling with. And I was just curious what you think right now. Are there any patterns and trends you're seeing of like what are high school athletes or athletes buying into right now that you see that's working?
What are athletes buying into right now that is working? Boy, I mean, nothing magical. I think it's funny to see, and Pat, looking at our AHQ kids, like it's funny to see the kids that come in and they're unsure, or maybe their parents want them to be here, maybe they don't want to be here, and they do the stuff, but maybe they just go through the motions. They're not really, and you coach them and do things and stuff like that, but you could still see like, this is but then the kids where the light switch has gone on, and they come like ready to friggin' go every single day and ready to get after it. And when they know they have their fly tens coming, they friggin' hammer. When they know that they have some heavy trap bar jumps, followed by some, whatever, big box jumps, they hammer it. They just don't half-ass it. They really, really get it. And then they start to really like things start to happen. And because we track everything, because nobody can remember numbers anymore, because we track everything, then it's there. And then you just see it happen. And it just, so I think the short answer is hard work. Like, and it's so lame. But like once that light switch goes on and the kids put two and two together, they're like, oh, I will get better. I am getting better. I want to be better, and then they get after it. I think that's a big deal. I think it's more than just playing the sport and feeling warm fuzzies and high fives and popsicles after the game.
I agree. I think it's also just a reminder that for them too that hard work is just hard work. There's no like magic formula. It's simple, but it's not easy. I think that they're online and they're seeing all these different drills they should be doing and athletes, and it's so easy to kind of feel like it's this magic potion when, like you said, it's really just simple hard work. And I think that kind of reminding and bringing kids back to that. And I like the way that you show them the numbers too. I remember when I started going to a strength and conditioning gym in high school over the summer, and each week we would go and we would see our numbers like each week go up, and it didn't look like a lot, but then by the end of the summer it's like, oh, my bench press went up this much, my squat went up this much, and it's just compounding interest that I think when you remind the kids of that, then that's when they buy in.
Jackie, you're hired. Done.
I love it. I love it. That's just reassurance, though, Adam. Like, it's reassurance that these kids are working. And I like the spin zone, too. I like when the numbers don't move sometimes.
Yeah.
And the parents have to then have that conversation and go, all right, well, you either aren't working as hard or it's just taking a little bit longer, and that's okay. I think in a world right now where there's a lot of gurus, there's a lot of social media quick fixes,
Right.
I think you provide substance, Adam, right now. Talk about your staff, man, because if you ask me what separates Oak from other people, spin zone of the question earlier, I'd say it's your staff. Talk about your staff, get some shout outs.
Yeah, no, I think so. We've been in business 13 and a half years now. We this very much started off as a hobby. We didn't exactly know what direction it was going to go. I was still teaching seventh grade math at the time, and just wanted to do better. Wanted to be, and try, wanted to attack that private sector. We have the best staff that we've ever had in 13 and a half years. And honestly, we just hired Coach Caitlin on 4 months ago and really solidified lots of things. And so, Coach Matt does an incredible amount of work. He's here all the time. A lot of personalized programming, coming through him. He's here early. He's here late. He's here when I don't even want him to be here. Like, Matt, you should go home. And he's still here. So when Coach Joe Filomeno has tight hips, which is always, Joe's got somebody to work with and make sure that, because Joe often self-diagnoses himself with things and whatnot. And so to get a separate set of eyes and whatnot, Matt is so good with that stuff. And then the rest of the staff's the same. Sam's all over the place, former, collegiate baseball player. Fantastic young athlete. Pat reminds me a lot of you. Still spry, very spry, you guys, kids. And then, Katie, Kyle, Caitlin are amazing, and they all work with our youth stuff, and it's fantastic because it's hard to find like the last three are all part-time coaches, but it's hard to find somebody like who has time in their day to like, I'm going to do my real at-home job, and now I'm going to come and I'm going to coach, and I'm going to be full focus and really enjoy this, and they all do. They all do, which is fantastic. Caitlin works with our VC United volleyball, and then also, coaches here, a huge chunk of the year, or chunk of the day, I guess. Katie is a strength conditioning coach down at Rockford Lutheran, and then comes here after school and coaches kids more. She's yelling at kids all day, and then she chooses to come here. And then Kyle's in love with volleyball and just loves that training and being able to pass that on. Obviously, a big chunk of what we do is the volleyball training with just sharing the space with VC United. So, dude, staff is amazing. Like it is, and it's easily the hardest piece of any type of businessy thing, like to find the people who can get on board with you. And it's the same thing. Like if you're trying to, create a team and whatnot, you have that one bad egg that can lead the team astray. And we are blessed. Like I don't have to worry about my staff. And that's not a statement I've, always been able to not say.
I think it's so big for parents too. I saw a Kirk Herbstreit quote the other day. It's like, if you love your kids, find them people outside of the home to love and develop them.
Yeah.
And that always hits me. I was on that podcast last week talking about how parents can take that step back and move forward with people that they trust. Yeah. Adam, when I send my athletes to Oak, I trust the hell out of you, man. And I trust your staff. And I've met them in person, and they were so kind, right? And not only that, but I trust that they're getting better as young men and women. And that's not always the case. So once again, man, I want to kind of pivot to you though, because yeah, we can talk all day about how great Oak is and how great your staff is. What makes you tick, man? Like 40 plus years old. Tell me about this, man. Tell me about why you're still doing this every day.
Um, yeah, I don't know. I think it goes back to that, I love watching athletes get better. It's really so much fun. This is going to sound terrible. Half the gym is like our adult training, because we need consistent revenue throughout the year, in which turns out our building wants rent paid every month. It's absolutely ridiculous. And so, to have that standard adult training, so we know that money's coming in. The kids kind of come in and out, depending if they're in season, out of season, and stuff like that. Like we'll see some of our HQ kids disappear when high school season starts, and we'd love them to stay. Can you make 1 day a week work in the morning, or maybe 2 or something like that? Like that's
Just timelines. Yeah, just timelines.
that's the deal. Sometimes, our 15-year-old kids can't get a ride here at 6 a.m. by mom and dad. I totally get that, so that's a thing. But it's this is terrible. When Sam was he took his first vacation in 2 years of being a full-time employee with us. So I'm like, Sam, I'll sub for you, not a big deal. Da-da. So I subbed in all of his adult training. I love our adults. They're fantastic. It does not light my fire just to be like, hey, Sarah, good job. You're squatting well. Keep doing that. Maybe a little bit more depth. That I don't know. Versus with the kids, where we could be a little bit more specific and a little bit more, again, because we have the force plate data. We know what program that we're on. We know what we're trying to get through. It's just for some, I don't know. It excites me more.
Yeah.
And I think part of it too is I want to set a good example for my children and be like, hey, dad works really hard.
Ding, ding, ding. This is exactly where I want you to go. Continue. Yes.
Well, and because I don't, it's hard to be a kid these days growing up. It is really freaking hard to be a parent because there's no textbook here. There's nobody, there are textbooks. There are lots of books, I guess, some are not always great. So like to try to figure out, it's amazing what the kids see, and it's less about what I say, and it's more about what they actually see dad do. And so I like when they see me working out. I want them to see that. But a lot of it is selfish for me, which to feel good and look good and stuff like that, be healthy, etc. But like, hey, dad's going to deadlift some weight today. How about you deadlift some weight today? I don't want to be insane with it because literally they've been in a gym their entire life. Reed's going to turn 14 here in a week.
Unbelievable.
And
yeah.
Literally we started, like, he was born and then 6 months later we started the gym. And so he doesn't know a world where he doesn't have access to a gym. And I don't know. I don't think parents realize how important they are when it comes to their kids, specifically their athletic life. Because if you're just going to be like that armchair dad and sit back and, gee, you need to work harder, like it's just, you can only yell at your kid for so much with it. And, before they do or do not do whatever you think that they should be doing. So, and again, in the same breath, I don't care if my kids, continue a sport. The whole sport thing is interesting. It's unique. The college, this, Pat, the college game continues to change. It's a little frustrating, at least on my end right now. I don't know if it is on your end too. All the portal stuff and that, like, I don't know. That's a whole different podcast right there. But yeah, I don't. That's my main thing with trying to, wanting to do well because we should.
Yeah, and Adam, and I'm going to go to our preface of the podcast and kick it over to Dave in a second. But I had to ask that again in a different spin zone because one, I love professional Adam Lane. But I love dad Adam Lane way better. I do. When I came on your podcast, your son is out there playing with a baseball. I'll never forget. And you look at me and go, he's not going to be a baseball guy, but I love that he's trying. You know what I'm saying? Like,
let's try.
I won't forget that.
Yeah.
Because you're just a great dad outside of being a great professional. And I think people can learn that there's room to do both. And you motivate me, brother. I'm half the dad that you are one day, dude. I mean that wholeheartedly. But this is not why you're here. Obviously, we're the Keep Going podcast. We have the Keep Going moment. You're smiling. You're bubbly. You're right in your face on camera. I love the person you are. Has it always been this way? Tell me your Keep Going moment, man.
So Pat, I've listened to enough of your podcast to know to expect this question, and I didn't think through it before
Good. I want authentic.
right
I want
now.
authentic.
Um, there was there's nothing major. There's not like one thing that, whatever. Um, because this entire process has been an evolution to get to where we are right now. Like we could not be more of a different gym right now than what we were started back in 2012. And I, before that, when my wife and I were talking on this and praying on this, and like, you know, because we started as a CrossFit gym, because back in 2012, CrossFit was the cool thing to do.
That was the flavor of the week.
I had one of the kids I coached, Bailey Murphy, is probably one of the best athletes. She's probably the best athlete I've ever coached. Bailey was a 12-foot pole vaulter. She actually set the national decathlon record for girls, which is awesome, but it's also hard to find the decathlon for girls to do. You have to find specific summer track meets, which is funny because it's 2026 and we can't freaking get a decathlon for girls. They all do the heptathlon, which they don't vault, and I forget what else they don't do. There's no 1500. They run the 800 instead. Anyway, not important. But Bailey ended up going off and doing track and field at Duke, and just an awesome kid, just an absolute killer. Wanted to get better, so level headed. We had so many quality conversations. She did not have an easy life. Like this girl worked for everything she got. And her mom's little thank you present for me was like training over a summer at CrossFit Rockford, because we were trying to figure out like this CrossFit thing back in 08, 09, 10, what is this going on? Like, could this help track and field? Could this not help track and field? I really like looking back on it. It was actually full range of motion with like deep squats and like we're getting girls doing pull-ups. This is a time where girls could do pull-ups. It was amazing. And we got our athletes stronger. We found that if athletes were stronger, we didn't have enough time to do more of the running stuff. But we found that the running stuff, if you overdid it, that's where the injury stuff came from. So anywho, by messing around with that CrossFit stuff, we're like, hey, maybe we could do this, and at the time there was only one CrossFit gym and, in the greater Rockford area. And so we're like, well, hey, we're up in Roscoe. Roscoe has a nice, we found a space and and it is, I don't know. Again, it's one of those things where you take a step and you look backwards. You're like, well, I can't go backwards. I guess I got to go another step forward, and then all of a sudden you go a couple of years and you're like, well, here I am. I guess, I guess God's leading me in this direction, and I can't turn around at this point. There's no thing. And this is, I don't know. I didn't mean to do this as a statement, but like when I stopped teaching in 2016, oh gosh, when did my certification, I forget when it expired, maybe 2018 or something like that. But I made it a point to not do anything. I didn't want to fall back. I didn't want this like, hey, if this gym doesn't work out, I'll just cycle back to teaching and like, I wanted that pressure on me to be like, we're not going backward. And no offense to teaching. God bless teachers. If you want to be, oh my gosh, my wife is still teaching right now, same building where we met and stuff like that, same classroom. God love her. God loves teachers. It is a rough environment. I don't want to go back there. I'm so thankful she does. 9 months of the year. That's amazing. I have no interest in that. And so I don't, maybe that pressure that like, I think all entrepreneurs face, where it's like, well, I'm going. I got to keep going. And,
here we go. Now we're humming.
I can't turn around. And 13 and a half years later, here we are. And there's always stuff. There's always crap. There's always, hurdles to jump through and jump over. And it's never easy. But then I think you just build some confidence through what you do. No different than an athlete, maturing and stuff like that, and just getting a little bit better and getting a little bit better and getting a little bit better. So that's not a great answer, Pat. And that's a very long answer.
I disagree.
Very short question.
I disagree wholeheartedly. I think that was fantastic. I'm going to let Jackie talk about it. Then I'll have her kick it over to Dave for the mailbag. Go ahead, Jackie.
No, I love it. And I love the idea of kind of going all in on one thing and kind of just doing it. I saw a video. I watch a lot of Gary V videos, the entrepreneur.
Gary V. Love
He's
him.
the best.
Oh.
And he went on like a rant in one of his videos that I watched the other day. And it was like, You don't need another self-help book. You don't need another video. You don't need to watch another video of me telling you to go do this thing. Like you need to just go do the thing. Like if this thing's calling your name and you want to do it, like just do it. Don't sit around talking about it anymore. Don't sit around brainstorming about it. Like just do it. And it sounds like that's what you kind of did. And obviously it's been a success for you. So that's a cool token I wanted to mention there.
Thank you. It's been some successes with many, many failures of ideas that absolutely blew up that I thought this is going to great. This is going to be amazing. And then we spend money or time or whatever it is being like, that didn't work out at all. Son of a gun. Um, and that's, yes. So yes, I agree with you. Love Gary Vee.
David Mitchell, get the mailbag hot, baby. Let's go.
Yeah, first of all, thank you for coming on here today and sharing your story. My first question is with young athletes, how do you help athletes handle pressure when expectations are high from coaches, parents, and maybe even themselves?
Oh boy.
This is why we pay him the big bucks, Adam.
Jeez. I mean, I one that in my position that's really hard because and if it's coming from the parent, that's a thing right there. Um, and this is where I try to separate myself as dad versus coach. Not to brag, but I am the treasurer for the Hananiga Wrestling Club. That's a volunteered position. Not to toot my own horn, but so I do get to coach wrestling, but I try not to coach my kids. Like I want them to go out there to let somebody else, coach you. I'll go do things. I'll coach you in the gym if you're not doing what you're supposed to be doing. I will guide you that way. Uh, Here's I think my answer to this. There, kids have they're hearing so much, and so I think the biggest thing that any coach or parent or somebody in my position is that there has to be that relationship, and if there's not that relationship, it's whatever thoughts or wisdom or ideas that you have I think are going to fall on deaf ears. When I coached track and field. Well, and well, no, I guess when I coached everything, because I coached track, cross country, and basketball. But we would go to meets or games or whatever it is, and either before the game or after the game or something like that. Literally, I would go to the back of the bus. I'd sit next to every kid, and literally just ask them how they're doing. Hey Caitlin, how are you doing? How's life? Da, 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 da. Sometimes they were quick, little 30-second conversations. Sometimes they were 5 minutes. And you found out that mom and dad are getting divorced. Or they broke up with their boyfriend, or blah 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 blah. And that's the stuff where I think in and Pat, this is where I think you do so well with your kids, because I've never heard one kid not completely brag on you and how great you are. And I listen to your conversations that you have with these kids. These are not just these superficial. And I'm not saying you have to get deep down and personal and tell me your deepest darkest secrets, because I don't want that. But like, let me know how things are going on. Like it's interesting. We've had kids scan out on the plates before, and they usually scan very, very consistently. And then all of a sudden, one day their scan is all cattywampus. I'm like, what is going on, Katie? Let's try that again. It's still like, what did it? And then you dig a little bit more, and you find out that like her AP classes are absolutely killing her. And college recruiting sucks right now, and it's not going well. And and they just unload on you, and you're just like, oh, okay. Stress. That's that's a thing, which ties into the mental health piece and stuff like that. So sorry, short answer to the very simple question is I think as a coach, you have to have those relationships. You have to ask your kids, how are you doing? How are you feeling? What's going on? And again, you don't have to be a therapist, not a therapist, but like, you just have to care. You just give a damn about, the kids that are in front of you, if you really want them to get better.
Yeah, that's a great answer. It's more than just a sport, what you're building.
Yeah.
And I think that goes a really far way. My last question for today is, what's one message you wish every young athlete could hear right now?
Jeez. One message. Athletes could hear. Wow, that is a very limiting question right there. One message. I don't mean to get hokey with it, but I don't know whatever the line is, whether you think you can or you think you can't, you're right. Um, Again, you're limiting me here just to the one thing, but like I think that's a big thing. I think it's interesting to see the kids that come in here and they just freaking kill it. And it's not necessarily our juniors and seniors who have been around here and been around the block and are so driven and so goal focused. We get 12-year-olds in here that freaking crush it. Absolutely. Oh my gosh. Pat, what's the little guy from Byron? He's a sixth grader. Oh my
Dude,
gosh. What's his name?
it's so amazing to see that. I've never worked with him, but I've seen him around.
He's a killer. He's an absolute. He just comes in and works. I'm like, dude, like, we have programs laid out for kids, and we coach them through it. Sometimes he just grabs stuff and go. I'm like, come, oh my gosh, I can't think of his name. Oh my gosh, I haven't seen him since. Anyway, comes up from Byron. He's fantastic. Obviously, we have too many kids, and my hard drive's maxed out. But like, there are kids like that who just like, they're young and they still get after it, and they still believe that they can. They want to get better. They want the competition. They know that failure is going to come. Like it's part of this process. And it's a thing. And then the kids that don't, the kids that shy away from it. And there's always that line, because like we don't want like your whole identity and person and whatnot to be wrapped up into this one sport. And I think that's where it's really hard to be a kid, in whatever 2025, 2026. Like it is challenging, because like your whole freaking life is on this phone, and it's here, look at my Instagram, this is everything that I'm doing. I didn't have that as a kid, thank goodness. Like it's so stressful for kids to I have to put this out here and look how good I look, and looks here are my prom pictures, and this is like I didn't have any of that. We played a game, we went home. Nobody's videotaping, because literally the video cameras like went on people's shoulders with the full VHS tape, and my dad's not doing that. We do that for birthday parties, special occasions, not Adam's Wednesday night game against Geneva. Like that's not important. So I think that belief in the way of, hey, I can or I can't, but either way I'm right.
Both usually right. Yeah, I love that answer. Well, thank you for coming on today and sharing your story and talking about mental health. Yeah, you're just a light. I can see it. I can see your passion for the kids that you have and what you bring to your atmosphere. I just love it. So thank you. Thank you for coming on today.
Yeah, well, here, I appreciate it. I do think, and this is crazy to me, because when we talked about like, hey, Pat, I'll be honest with you, there's so many podcasts. You guys put out so much content. It's amazing. I didn't.
Thank you.
The whole mental health thing is so interesting to me, because like that was not a phrase that we used back in the 90s. Like that was never talked about. Oh, your mental health, what? What are you talking about? Like that's not even a thing. And I feel like this mental health thing is something that we have like brought upon ourselves. And, because we consume too much of this, because we're not sleeping enough, because we're not, eating good food, because we're not out in nature, because we don't have good relationships, because again, we're attached to this too much. It's so frustrating, to see good kids, great athletes, or just good people get wrapped up so much in this and not focus on the important things. And I think what you guys are doing is God's work in the way of like shedding light on like, hey, I'm off my A game right now, but I'm getting better. I'm listening to these podcasts. People are saying these things. I'm having light bulbs go off a little bit, and it's helping me just be a normal human, because kids are having to tackle issues today that we didn't have to worry about 30 years ago. And again, I thank goodness that thank God I didn't have to, endure that. And you guys are, instead of like, oh, try to like, you're tackling these things head on. Like you're being aggressive with it. So I thank you guys for what you're doing, because it's a big deal.
Thank you. Yeah, I think too, my sister she works in college athletics, and she was at the NCAA convention this week, and she went to a guy that spoke, and the topic he was speaking on was talking to Gen Z and like how to talk to the younger generation. She was like, I was the youngest person there, but I was really kind of intrigued. And she was like, it was very refreshing to hear, because the guy touched on like, we're always like, you always hear adults, oh, this new generation, oh, these kids. And it's like, well, a lot of that generation went through a pandemic. They were born after 9/11. All they know is like screens and terrorism and disease and like awful events. It's like if we can learn to how to speak to them about those things and how to be better, then hopefully it gets to a day where it's not as much. I don't want it to be so many conversations around mental health. I really just want like now my generation and your generation to just set the example so that kids just know what's right and wrong. Like if we don't go outside, if we're glued to our phones, that's what they're going to think is normal. If we're always watching the news and being negative or surrounding that, that's what they think is normal. So it's like, let's put them in a better position to succeed instead of blaming them for the position that they were put into. Like they didn't choose to be in a generation where screens are in front of them. They didn't choose to always hear about mass casualties on the news. So it's like, let's do better and do more right by then so that we don't have to keep having these conversations as they grow up.
I love
Jackie,
it.
beautifully said. Beautifully said.
Well, and to be able to normalize that too, Jack, I love that. To be able just to, and that's where I think it really starts in the family. To mom, dad, you listen to Pat's podcast, which you need to, take the phones and throw them away, get outside, do things as a family. We were just talking about the younger kids. Adults get sucked into this stuff so hard, and we can't figure out why the kids do the same. Because again, they monkey see, monkey do.
I'm gonna leave us with one thing here, and I agree on all fronts. And Jackie, thanks for sharing that. I didn't know she attended that. It's like I'm learning. Adam, I find myself listening sometimes too. I'm gonna leave us with this: adjustability. It's not gonna be cookie cutter out there. Like it's not. It's not gonna be cookie cutter in my cage. It's not gonna be cookie cutter in the gym with you. The adjustability piece and being human and understanding, okay, we're going to make mistakes. Things are going to come up. There's going to be ups and downs. I think that's why you put coaches and mentors and accountability partners in place. So when you do fall short, when you do fail, when shit does get hard, you got people to have your back, man. So I think the adjustability piece and being able to, I don't know, get back up, and I hate to use the mantra, but keep going after all is why we do this after all these years. So Adam, you're a guy that I've been trying to have on forever. You're a guy that in our community, you are a pillar. You are a staple of what we do. It's not because you get our kids stronger and faster and have them eat better. It's the person you are and the family that you've created. And without getting emotional, man, I love who you are. I love the dad that you are. I love the mentor you are. And thank you again for taking time out of your Sunday, man.
Yeah, Pat, this is honestly absolute honor to be here. I very much appreciate it. And dude, sorry, not to make this podcast any longer, but to go off of what you just said, I think one of the biggest things I know this is in my life. I have a group of about 9 guys who have my back, and they're all guys at church, and we meet once a week. And ever since we started doing this, my life is better. And we meet early in the morning because we're all busy business owners. We got things going on and And whether it be Bible study stuff or just talking through like 2026 goals, or whether just like venting about our business or our spouse or whatever. Like I think that's where that relationship piece. Again, I don't care if you're 46 or 31 or 16. Like to have friends, to have people in your corner, like that's such like that you can really trust, is such an important thing in this day and age. And I just sorry you mentioned it. I just want to highlight it because it's so damn important.
You either you let things happen to you and you have all these trials and tribulations. You either can let that all happen and be the victim mindset, or you can find the good, speak the good, believe in the good in people. That's a choice that you have to make every day. So if you're taking anything away from the episode today, go find the good, be the good when it doesn't exist, and be adjustable. It's not going to look like rainbows all the time. And hopefully you get that message from Jackie, Dave, and of course, Adam today. All right, everybody. Another amazing episode of the Keep Going podcast. I'm blessed to be here. Go Pats, Jackie, is what they say, I think.
I think they were saying go Bears too.
I think so. From the echoes, I could hear it. Good football Sunday. Blessings to everybody here. And above all else, keep going, everybody.
Thanks, guys.